So it is time for another story with Skyblock, and please enjoy. Jamie was breathing hard. Honestly, who had decided to put the tow bear on top of a mountain? It was really only used to wizards, and one became a wizard by studying hard and practicing their spells constantly, not climbing up mountains. Wizards were probably among the least in shape, and yet the tow bear was on top of a mountain. Go figure. Finally, legs and lungs burning, Jamie made it to the top and finally laid their eyes upon the mythical, magical, wonderful Hobair. It was rather small. Jamie blinked in surprise, then looked around to see if they could spot a larger, more impressive fountain, but there was none around, and this fountain was in the exact spot that they had been told the Tobear would be in. It had to be the Tobear. It just didn't look that impressive. A little warily, Jamie approached the Tobear. Even though it didn't look all that impressive, Jamie had read enough books about it to know that it was full of powerful, dangerous, wild magic. As they picked their way carefully along the rocks that led up to the Tobear, small lizards and bugs scuttled out of their way. Jamie could swear that the animals looked a little bigger and significantly more intelligent than others of their age, and the plant life was more luscious and sprawling here. The magical effects of the tow bear seemed to be affecting the environment around it. Jamie wished that they had their notebook with them. They wanted to write down their observations about the plant and how it had been affected by the Hobair. They wanted to catalog the behaviors of the animals around, and most of all, they wanted to draw a picture of the Hobair. Despite all the time they had spent searching, Jamie had never come across an image of the Hobair. It seemed such a shame that no one had produced an image of it, but Jamie had been given strict instructions to not bring their notebook. They had been told that this was the time to observe, not a time to record. But the two were supposed to go together, so that didn't really make much sense. Jamie turned their attention back to the purpose of their visit, the Hobair. They hesitated for a moment, because it would take a lot of energy, then decided to do it anyways. They wanted to know what they were getting into. With an effort, Jamie lowered their sight into deep sight, and suddenly the Hobair lit up with blue energy. Jamie had to take a step back in amazement. Before their eyes, the Hobair expanded to a beautiful burst of glowing blue lines, spiraling up from the center of the fountain and flowing every which way. Jamie noticed that each of the lines coming out from the Hobair ran to a beetle, or to a lizard, or to a plant, or to a rock in the surrounding area. There was even a line going straight towards them, entering their hearts. Jamie waved a hand through the line in front of them, disrupting the light. It could have been just their imagination, but they could have sworn that as they passed their hands through the light, it felt more energized, more alive. And suddenly, Jamie realized that they weren't breathing as hard, and their legs didn't hurt as much. It was as if the Hobair was re-energizing them after the tiring hike to this place. Jamie raised their sight back into normality and looked at the Hobair with greater respect. The vast majority of magic acted on the self, making one stronger, letting them see with a deep sight, or giving them new knowledge. It was powerful magic indeed, to be able to affect other objects, especially another being. And the Hobair was doing it to hundreds, if not thousands of things, at the same time. Powerful magic indeed. Jamie approached the Hobair and started inspecting it, running their hands along the walls of the fountain and staring at the water, looking to see if there were any unfamiliar runes written or if there was a peculiar mixture in the water. But there was nothing. No explanation for why the Hobair was as powerful as it was. But as Jamie was inspecting the Hobair, they did notice something. There was some sort of device made out of crystals and gemstones sitting on the wall of the fountain. It was moving side to side, almost as if it was some sort of animal watching its surroundings. Then it looked towards Jamie. It seemed to pause as Jamie and the device inspected each other. Then it kept examining the surroundings. Jamie moved closer to the device, then noticed that there were some scratchings in the gemstones and crystals. To their surprise, they were letters in demonic, which Jamie had learned to read very recently. It read Daida, and there was the slash that indicated that it was a name. Even though they wanted to inspect the device, perhaps even take it apart to see how it worked, Jamie resisted the urge. They did not want to mess someone who was familiar enough with demonic to sign their name with it. Creatures who used that language often were no joke. So instead, they turned back to inspecting the Hobair. But after a thorough investigation, Jamie could not tell what made the Hobair so powerful. It must just be a part of its nature, which frustrated them. That meant that there was no way to learn the power the fountain had, except to drink from the waters. Jamie had heard the legends, of course. There were thousands upon thousands of stories about people who had drunk from the waters of the Hobair, about the woman whose hair turned into gold, about the hunter who learned to hear animals' thoughts, about the sailor whose feet turned into stone, about the man who could spit fire from his fingers, about the wanderer who grew wings, about the cobbler who had turned into a horse, about the dancer dissolved into the wind, about the child that could call lightning, and thousands more. During their climb up the mountain, Jamie had thought and thought and thought about whether they were going to drink from the waters. No one had ever talked to someone that had actually drank from the Hobair, but the legend said that drinking the water gave great and powerful magic that was very unpredictable, which was what caused everything that happened in those stories. Drinking from the Hobair was supposed to be very dangerous, but also had the potential to give a lot of magical power. Every wizard was greatly encouraged to start climbing the mountain to the Hobair during their education, then return every single year to learn if they would drink from the waters, to know how far they were willing to go for power. How far were they willing to go for the knowledge that the Hobair could give? While climbing the mountain, Jamie had honestly thought that they might be the one to finally drink from the fountain. There was nothing around the Hobair that gave knowledge about how to have magic that affected others. The only way to get that knowledge had to be by drinking from the Hobair, and Jamie wanted that knowledge. They wanted that knowledge so bad. They knew that if they didn't drink from the Hobair, there would be countless sleepless nights, wondering what knowledge they could have had if they had drunk the water. But it was too dangerous. And now that they were standing here, Jamie knew that they enjoyed the process of learning information. They wanted this knowledge that the Hobair had to offer, yes, but they also wanted to come by it honestly. Besides, there was always next year.